Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and kittens, dogs and fucking puppies, and bunch of ignorant sheep-scanding mongrel motherfuckers. Welcome to the Wrestling Enthusiast Real Talk. I am E. Peralta, otherwise also known as the Wrestling Enthusiast. Yes, I will explain that momentarily, but today, history is going to be made here. History is definitely going to be defined here today. And of course, today, I'm going to explain what this show is basically going to be all about. Now, today we're going to be talking about, I'm going to make an introduction to myself, and I'll tell you why I'm called a Wrestling Enthusiast. I actually gave myself my name. I actually gave myself the nickname to myself because I've been a fan of wrestling since I was 3 years old. I will get to that in about a minute. And then I have a couple of things that I want to get off my chest, and that involves the coronavirus. Was it a scam? Is it a bunch of bullshit? Is it something that the government wanted to do to the public? Was it something that these dumbass governments want to do in order to kill or control people? What do you think of this? Today, I'm probably going to piss off a whole lot of people. So if you want to join me for the ride, go ahead. I open the doors to everyone. But if you don't want to join me for the ride, I don't give a French fried fuck about it. Nor do I even give a shit. I could be nuttier than squirrel shit, and you can still support me. But if you do, then I truly appreciate that. But if you don't like me, like I said, you go fuck a go. But anyway, since we're on the subject at hand of fucking goats, or fucking people for that matter, let's take a look at the news real quick. The news is, I'm currently looking at CNN.com. By the way, CNN.com is for the latest in news and breaking news and all the nation's top stories, and also the world-leading stories in the world. Check on over to CNN.com. All right, top story is that the coronavirus, obviously, that will be a major subject, which I will talk about in just a little while. Definitely, the outbreak has definitely been closing and canceling events left and right here, everywhere as well. Closing schools, shutting down sporting venues, canceling travel to European countries. Everything has gone basically to shit. And there's a report going on here, and one report here as we take a look at the news here. No deal has been reached tonight as of right now on a coronavirus response package. The top negotiators were unable to clinch a final agreement on a sweeping legislative package to address the economic fallout of the growing, escalating coronavirus crisis tonight, pushing talks into Friday as they sought out to close out a handful of outstanding issues. Nancy Pelosi says, in quote, "It's fair to say we're close to an agreement, subject to the exchange of papers, and hope to have an agreement by tomorrow." Pelosi told reporters outside of her office this evening, "We've resolved most of our differences, and those we haven't will continue the conversation because there will be other bills to follow." Asked if she was confident that there would be a vote on a deal on Friday, Pelosi responded, "One way or another." Singer Billie Eilish postpones her tour date over the coronavirus. Better yet, she postpones all of her tour dates for the time being right now. In a series of tweets on her verified Twitter account, American singer Billie Eilish announced she is postponing a host of upcoming tour dates due to the concerns related to the coronavirus outbreak. And she says, on quote, "It is with great sadness to announce the following Billie Eilish Where Do We Go North American tour dates have been postponed until further notice." Eilish tweeted Thursday evening, "I'm so sad to do this, but we need to postpone these dates to keep everyone safe. We'll let you know when they can be rescheduled. Please keep yourselves healthy." End unquote. The postponed shows were to take place in Philadelphia, New York, Newark, Washington, Boston, Brooklyn, Detroit, Chicago, Indianapolis, Nashville, and in St. Louis. Tickets for the postponed shows will be honored for the new dates, which will be announced soon, Billie Eilish tweeted. Disney World and Disneyland Paris Resort to close over the coronavirus concerns due to the concerns of the coronavirus outbreak. Walt Disney World Resort in Florida and Disneyland Paris Resort will close at the end of the business day Sunday through the end of the month, the company said in a statement tonight. Disney Cruise Line will also suspend all new departures beginning Saturday through the end of the month, the company has also added. Disney cast members will be paid during the closure period, and hotels and dining complexes at both Disney World and Disneyland Paris will stay open until further notice, according to the company. Pennsylvania Department of Corrections is suspending all prison visits with some expectations starting tomorrow for 2 weeks, according to a tweet from the organization. As unquote, only staff, vendors, and contractors will be allowed to enter any of the state prisons pending results of the screening, the department said in a tweet. New Mexico to close all kindergarten through 12th grade public schools for 3 weeks. They will, according to the press release from the Office of Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, the shutdown will last 3 weeks to try to slow the spread of the coronavirus. The governor's office says more details about the closure will be released on Friday, but the state wanted to get the word out earlier so parents can begin planning for childcare next week. The school closure announcement came shortly after the state announced its 6th confirmed coronavirus. NBA Cleveland Cavaliers to compensate all stadium employees regular wages. As today, they plan to compensate all Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse employees, hourly, and event staff team members as if every game and every event is still taking place. The announcement comes after the team's Kevin Love announced a $100,000 donation to the arena staff. And yesterday, the NBA suspended its season after a player preliminary tested positive for the coronavirus, stunning the fans and players. Utah Jazz All-Star center Rudy Gobert tested positive for the coronavirus, according to ESPN and other media outlets, shortly before his team's game Wednesday night against the host city, Oklahoma City Thunder. Kansas announces its first corona death in the state. Governor Laura Kelly announced the state's first death for the coronavirus today. The patient is a male in his 70s who lived in a long-term care facility in Wyandotte County, Kelly, right there in Wyandotte County, Kansas. According to the governor, the man had other underlying health conditions and was receiving care at a local hospital days before he passed away. The man was not mobile, so the state is treating this as a case of community spread, and health officials are now conducting public health contracting the case. Other health officials are also contacting and tracing the coronavirus in the state of Kansas. Some context, Kelly said this situation demanded that she declare an emergency, which will grant her administration the ability to activate state resources and mobilize personnel to assist where needed. This death is the state's 5th confirmed case of coronavirus. This is the 41st death here in the United States. Also, 2 TSA officials who tested positive for coronavirus performed pat-downs at San Jose Airport. Two mobile security administration officers performed pat-downs and luggage checks at Mineta San Jose International Airport prior to testing positive for COVID-19, according to information provided to local officials by the government's federal agency. The TSA has authorized frontline personnel interacting with the public to wear surgical masks if they choose. And it seems like, and if I may stop for just a minute, it seems like everything has been nothing but pure coronavirus everywhere in this country. And and it's just making everything a lot worse, and it's just making everything so bad. and it's kind of a bit heart-wrenching to see, because this was a situation that should have been avoided with spreading germs, and on top of that, it's a situation that people should have known better about in the first place, which I will get down to in a minute, which is why I'm a little extra pissed off, and I will explain to that excuse me, in a little while. Now, let's go down to some wrestling news. Wrestling news is the WWE. Let's go on with, as WWE is moving this Friday. By the time this podcast is released, it will be Friday. So, well, it'll be interesting to see how SmackDown is, as WWE has announced an officially moved Friday Night SmackDown from Detroit, Michigan, to the company's Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. Below is their official statement. The verbiage also strongly implies that it will take place in an empty arena without any fans. And this is on quote, Friday Night SmackDown on March 13th will air live as regularly scheduled and emanate from WWE's training facility in Orlando, Florida, with only essential personnel in attendance. This event was originally scheduled for Detroit, Michigan. It was supposed to originally be held somewhere near the Little Caesars Arena. AEW suffers some viewership loss, but still beats NXT in the ratings. Last night's viewership, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this on a Friday, this will be this past Wednesday. This past Wednesday's viewership numbers in, and as expected, AEW Dynamite won the battle over NXT. However, the gap is narrowed considerably. Well, Dynamite registered 766,000 viewers, down considerably from last week's 906,000 viewers, while NXT saw a much more modest drop, coming in at 697,000 viewers versus 718,000 a week ago. Those decreases represent a 15% and 3% decline, respectively, in the 18 to 49-year-old age demographic. Dynamite also took a big tumble, dropping to a 0.26 rating, 25th overall on the night, while NXT again saw a much smaller decrease to a 0.21 rating and 42nd overall. No decision has been made on whether WrestleMania 36 will go on as planned. According to Hillsborough County officials, held a press conference today to brief the public about how the region is responding to the coronavirus outbreak. This is wreaking havoc in not only in the sports world, but apparently in the music world as well. In regards to WrestleMania 36, that is scheduled to be held in Tampa. There was some confusion, as the county commissioners seemed to think that WWE was holding their own press conference to relay how they would be proceeding with the event. WWE has since communicated that there was an error and no press conference was ever held or released. County officials then said that because there are still several weeks left until WrestleMania, they don't want to prematurely cancel the event and will instead give it another week or so before reassessing. It was also implied that they will wait for WWE's decision on whether to go forward with the event given the current circumstances, and if the promotion doesn't cancel or reschedule the event, then the county will reconview the next steps that will be proceeding. The inference was that WWE may step forward and announce their plans in the coming days and weeks, thereby not forcing city or county officials to make the decision for them. Hillsborough County Commissioner said on Thursday, and quote, "We know that right now WrestleMania is out in about 3 weeks, and we came to the conclusion right now we don't want to pull that plug. However, we want to give them at least a week to see what was going to happen, if the WWE was going to do anything at all." Regarding the subject of WWE and next month's WrestleMania pay-per-view at Raymond James Stadium, the city commissioner concluded, and if they don't at that point, I would suggest we do bring this body back together in an emergency meeting to discuss what we do at this point in time. So, and that's a news headline that we got courtesy of eWrestling.com. I'm pretty sure there's other wrestling websites out there also available. Please check them out. And if not, go for any resources online. Make sure you go to eWrestling.com. Okay, that will do it for the news portion of the show. I thought I'd tell you. So this is the Wrestling Enthusiast. And this is a new podcast, a new concept that I will be doing starting now. That we'll be discussing certain subjects about in the world of professional wrestling. Not only that, some subjects that are going on in the world, and it's kind of hard to avoid the coronavirus. That fucking shit will be running rampant in time. It's just basically it's been a proverbial pain in the fucking ass. But I'll explain that in at the ending segment of this show. So, okay. So, the Wrestling Enthusiast, moi, I decided to take this concept into podcasting because I wanted to be doing this to express myself. Not only that, but also to entertain you as well. And especially in this time of era that we live in right now. In the year 2020, we so far have not been off to a good start. I mean, January, we're afraid we might start a war with Iran. Then we're dealing with Kobe Bryant's death, which was fucking tragic. If you ever live in the city of Los Angeles, you will know how fucking heartbreaking that tragedy was, and damn sure it was. And then the coronavirus in this month, and so far that seems to be the major issue today. So far we're in March. Today is March 12th. Tomorrow will be the 13th, and it's Friday. So Friday the fucking 13th. Oh great, we need that fucking luck, don't we? Well, anyway. So, I thought I'd introduce myself to the podcasting world. I've been watching. I'm E. Peralta. I grew up in Los Angeles. I used to live in East LA. As a matter of fact, lived in numerous locations. I used to live in Montebello. I used to live in Pico Rivera, and I used to live in Whittier at one point, and I have since moved to Marietta, and it's a nice little town, but nothing beats downtown in my opinion. You have a lot more shit to do and a lot more stuff to do, so I cannot really beat that since I'm a city guy. So what the hell can I say? Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I have been a fan of professional wrestling since probably like I was 3 years old. And when I was 3, I was I was so excited because I was always into video games, and I always liked sports as well. And that was just me. That was just me being a kid, doing my usual shtick that I always like to do. And I've always kept track with the common trends, but sometimes I always thought the common trends kind of suck. And one of the things that I used to watch when I was a kid, because for some reason it caught my eye. I don't know why, but sometimes like the fighting stuff. I used to watch when I was like 3 years old. They used to have it on Saturday mornings too. It was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was a cartoon. It was based from the 80s, and they kept going on to like 1993 or 94 or some shit like that. Can't really quite remember the time or the date that I remembered that type of when I was watching those cartoons. And then that was a time when Bobby's World started, and then I was watching these cartoons. But I always liked Ninja Turtles because it was all like they're doing karate and all that, nunchucks, yeah, Raphael, Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, it was a lot of fun. Fighting Shredder, and then they always had April O'Neil with them. I remember that stuff, man. It was like, when I was a kid, I always thought I used to kick ass. Then in 1993, I was watching Fox on Saturday morning one time, And there was this introduction to this show called the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And I was fascinated with that shit too. And once it caught my eye and I started watching it on Fox, I was like intrigued by it. I always liked it, Mastodon, Pterodactyl, Triceratops, Saber-toothed Tiger, Tyrannosaurus. I remember that shit. It was kind of like Saved by the Bell with steroids on it. And then you add a show which I forgot what was it? What was it? Joshin Gaiden or some shit like that. Let me take a look at this. But I was fascinated by the show because it did a lot of shit that was unheard of back then. A lot of karate action, and it was they were fighting monsters and shit. And yeah, I was into the franchise. I didn't know it was going to be a franchise because at first when I started watching this shit, oh yeah, now I remember. It's Super Sentai. That was the show it was based off of. If you don't know what Super Sentai is, it's a show that was based in Japan, and the series had been going on since 1975. I didn't even know that this shit was going on for this long. But but then again, if you've ever been watching Godzilla flicks, you kind of relate. But anyway, I mean, I kind of like Godzilla, but I like Power Rangers more. I'm more of a Super Sentai type of guy. Well, at least I was when I was a kid. I used to remember that shit. But anyway, I was so intrigued by that. I was intrigued by the Power Rangers and stuff. I was always looking forward to what was going on. And then even when I was a kid, or maybe it was. Yeah, so I mean, I was intrigued by the show. I also liked Saved by the Bell and programs like that. I was into that shit back in those days, and I was always into, I don't know, but just like the Saturday morning atmosphere, kind of really caught my eye, and it's just some shit that I was just really interested in. So that's just something that I always watch. I think I've probably watched Power Rangers until probably 1999 when they come in, because they had several series back in those days. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was the one that started it all back in '93. I was like 5 years old. I remember when I turned 6, I had a Power Rangers party down in my grandmother's backyard. I had my relatives, my cousins, and all that stuff, my brother and my sister and all. I remember that stuff, so it was just fond memories of those back in those days. Well, anyway, so I was watching that shit probably till and then '96, shit started to change, and then they had Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers, which to me they kind of sucked. They kind of sucked in a way because they always seem to get their asses kicked. I watched because there was probably like 10 episodes, like 10 weeks, because the regular Power Rangers were actually turned into little kids and they went back in time for some sort. But anyway, to me it just sucked. I mean, they kept getting their asses kicked, and I didn't really care for it. But it was like whatever. I still kept on watching to see what was going to happen. I was thinking, oh shit, they're probably going to get the power. They're probably going to restore them back to their teenage years or whatever the fuck. And I was intrigued by it. Then the command center gets destroyed, and I was like, what the fuck happened? And that was a shocking moment, in my childhood when I remember that shit. I was like, what the fuck? Did they kill Zordon and Alpha or whatever? And yeah, man, that made me trip for a while. But anyway, yeah, so I was watching Power Rangers, and then out came Power Rangers Zeo, which caught my eye, and it was interesting to me. It was a new way to watch Power Rangers, and then after that, there was Power Rangers Turbo, and there was all about like they were driving off-road vehicles or whatever the fuck. And one of the Power Rangers was a little kid. I was like, huh? That's fucking weird. They had a little kid. So they're like 4 teenagers. Here's the thing. They had the original cast from that Turbo Power Rangers movie. And the reason why they changed the storyline was because the storyline went from Zeo to Turbo, and that's how they changed shit. And I didn't get a chance to see that movie. I didn't get a chance at all, but I mean, I had parents that were crazy, but anyway, they were tight asses as well. I'm just being friendly, so if you guys listen to me, I'm sorry, but not sorry. Okay, back to my story. I was watching Power Rangers Turbo, and you know, I was okay, but I wasn't as good as Zeo or Mighty Morphin, but I stuck with it. I watched it every now and then to see what the hell was going on. Then I started watching Power Rangers in space. Then that became different. So I started watching that shit. And sure enough, I liked it. So it was fascinating shit. Anyway, yeah, so Power Rangers in space, you know, it was, I liked the show until they killed Zordon in that show. And then who would have known that one of the Power Rangers sisters was the villain. But anyway, it was a unique show. I really enjoyed it. But once I started hearing an advertisement for Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, it did exactly that. It got me lost. And what I mean by that is I lost track. I didn't care for the story. It got kind of cheesy. And I was like, nah, I ain't watching this shit anymore. By the time I was around that age, I was like 10 or 11 years old. So I was too busy watching sports, and I was getting into them. I liked watching wrestling. I liked watching basketball games, football games. I liked enjoying some soccer games as well. I was watching some auto racing, because back in those days, it was the most dangerous sport on the fucking planet. And you know, I mean, shit like that, I just changed my interest in shit. And, you know, video games kept me occupied as well. I've been playing video games since I was like 3. And the very first system I ever played was an NES. Very first game I ever played, Rad Racer 2. That was the very first game I ever played. Then it was Super Mario Brothers. Then it was Mega Man 3. Then I started playing all kinds of shit. So, excuse me, I gotta clear my throat. So yeah, I just started playing all kinds of shit, and I just been intrigued by it. And then once I was like 4 years old, around Christmas '92, that's when I got my Super Nintendo. And I remember because one time I went to Sears one time, if you guys remember that shit. Because, you know, if you can find a Sears around this day and age, you're fucking lucky. If you don't, well, you don't know. Anyway, so I was a little kid, and I was intrigued by the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo. I wanted both because, you know, I was a punk. I admit to myself, I was a spoiled punk-ass little kid. Well, anyway, I wanted a Sega or I wanted a Super Nintendo. So, but my mom one time said, "Well, you have a choice. You either have Mario or Sonic," and because, you know, she considered the Nintendo Mario and she considered the Sega Sonic. So I was like, well, you can have Mario or you can have Sonic, but you can't have both. And I just said to myself, okay, get me Mario because I want to play that and all that stuff. I was just intrigued by it. I had nothing against the Sega Genesis, but I liked it too. I mean, but I was a Super Nintendo guy, and that's what made me there. And I was a Nintendo guy until the Nintendo 64 came out, and that was a cool thing to have. Then I switched allegiances, and I became a Sony PlayStation guy back in 1997. You know, it was just it's just really cool. So yeah, and I was just intrigued by the video games and shit. All kinds of racing games. I was playing Crash Bandicoot. I was playing Spyro the Dragon. I was playing Gran Turismo. I was just playing all kinds of shit, you know. And I was into the options back in those days, you know. And I was into sports games as well. I used to play a college basketball game called NCAA Final Four in '99, and I saw how many teams you could play. I was like, fuck, you could. I thought there was like 70 or 80 teams, but then I found out there was like 290. I was like, God damn, I had to play that fucking game. So I was intrigued by collegiate football and collegiate basketball, and I liked that shit because it was different. It was different to the NFL. It was different to the NBA. But I mean, I still like the NBA, and I still like the NFL and all that shit. And I like Major League Baseball. I'm a baseball fanatic as well. You know, I enjoy my watching the Dodgers. So anyway, as the years gone by, I just try to find a way to entertain myself. As the years gone by, and a PlayStation 2, 3, and 4 later, and an Xbox One, I just keep myself busy at times, just trying to entertain myself, make sure, you know, that, you know, everything is cool. And then, of course, with the invention of YouTube, I kept watching these fucking crazy, silly fucking videos. So I'm just a simple type of guy. You know, I just like to do shit. I like to watch goofy shit. That's just type of guy that I am, you know. I like to entertain people. I mean, in my senior year of high school, I was in drama. So, and I got an A for that. And my drama teacher was very critical about people's work and students' work. So, if you gave it your A game up there on stage, you were going to get an A and pass a class and ace it, no problem. If you half-assed it, you weren't going to pass. So. And there was a lot of people that were shy, they were half-assing, or they just didn't give a fuck. And me, I just expressed myself in the most convenient way possible. I wanted to be a comedian at one point in time, but, you know, at the same time, you know, because I could write my own material, and I could probably just, you know, I could, you know, set myself up to success, but, you know, I'm always busy because, you know, our fucking government doesn't pay us enough fucking money to make a fucking living, which I'll get to them in a little while, because I got some people to fucking call out. But I'll explain later. Anyway, so we're currently in a situation right now where, you know, I felt now the time to create a podcast because I want to express myself in a fun, crazy, but at the same time entertaining way that I could possibly get, and I hope you guys enjoy it. You know, I mean, I hope you guys really will enjoy what I have to say, because, you know, I always like to make an entertaining conversation. I mean, some people might not like what I have to say, and then some people will like what I have to say, and they probably will agree with me, or if not, you disagree with me. And, you know, like I said, and if you agree with me, then that's cool. You know, we could always be friends. We could have a drink if I ever spot you in the LA area. But we could always be cool with each other no matter what. But if you're gonna be a dick to me, and if you're gonna say opinion about me, I'm gonna call you out. Or if not, if you're not gonna be called out, at least I'm not gonna give a flying fuck about your opinion. And I really don't. You know, it's just fucking, I just like to entertain, you know, whether I'm entertaining myself or I'm entertaining you. That's just the type of person I am. I like to be entertaining. I just like to have fun. I like to be expressive. I'm kind of an introvert, but at the same time, you know, I don't mind going out there, having a drink, dancing with some chicks if I want to, or if not, you know, whatever the fuck happens. You know, I like to go to sporting events. I like to go to wrestling shows. I like to do this type of shit, you know. I like to go out. But unfortunately, since this fucking coronavirus is fucking going on, apparently we can't do that. So I'm going to change the subject right now. I'll get to that subject in about a couple of minutes. But speaking of bullshit, we have an update I'm looking at right here. It says the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, according to reports in Canada, that his wife has tested positive for coronavirus. It's just one of the many, many cases that's been going on all over the world. I'm telling you, this is just fucking getting out of hand. It's getting nuts. And people like to either pick their nose and scratch their balls all the time, and then they go in public and pick their nose and scratch their balls and shake people's hands. Fucking degenerates. But anyway, speaking of degenerating the mind into something that you like, which is no point in hate, no point of hate at all. I mean, I'm just saying that to be fucking funny. I mean, probably poorly executed joke, but I don't give a fuck. So, next subject here, I'm talking about wrestling. And I've been watching wrestling since I was 3. Back in the days, I think the big rivalry that was going on was Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter. And that was when the time I started watching it, when I was a kid. That was also around the time when a rookie Undertaker was wrestling around. He wouldn't get the title till the end of 91, but you know. I remember Jake the Snake Roberts. I remember the Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh yeah, Macho Man Randy Savage. I can't do the goddamn voice, right now, but I'll work on that. But anyway, I've always been a fan of wrestling. I don't know what it is, but something that caught my eye. That wrestling, that's always been there, it's something about it because, it's something about that makes me, gets me appealed to it. And I think it's the fact that, some talent out there, they had world-class athleticism, but at the same time, they also have, ability to simulate a fight. I don't like to use the word fake because if you use the word fake, that's like saying the N-word to a black guy. You don't want to be doing that shit. I mean, I don't want to start no shit in my first episode of the podcast, but at the same time, you kind of get my point here. You don't want to say that wrestling is fake. You could ask Dr. David Schultz and they could ask him if fucking wrestling is fake. He'll slap you right across the fucking jaw. But anyway, yeah, so, definitely I was intrigued by it, and then right around 1993, we started seeing a bunch of new guys start popping out. We started to see Bret the Hitman Hart. Started to see the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. I started seeing Razor Ramon. I started seeing Bam Bam Bigelow. I started seeing the Native American Tatanka. I don't know how many of you guys remember that, but I remember him. I remember the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. I remember this big wrestler from Hawaii. His name was Crush. I remembered Yokozuna. I remembered Diesel. I remembered the 1, 2, 3 Kid. That was X-Pac before he was X-Pac. That was a 1, 2, 3 Kid. I remember him. Sean Waltman. He was a talented fucking guy. And that's the shit I was growing up with. I grew up with that type of shit. And now, of course, if you remember from 93 to 95, 93 was about the time Hulk Hogan left, and then he ended up going to WCW about a year later. So, of course, I wasn't aware of WCW back in those days because you might want to call me a mark for this one, but I was loyal to the WWF back in those days. Anyway, so I've always was vocal to be a WWF fan guy. I always wanted to be one, and I was loyal to the company. So, long story short, I was watching that shit even though it was the ship shape it was in. And right around 96, we started seeing Stone Cold Steve Austin. Then we started seeing Mankind. Then we saw the Ultimate Warrior come back. I remember that shit. It only lasted about like 3 or 4 months before he got fired. I always wondered what the fuck happened. And then for some reason, I just stopped. I didn't have cable back in those days. I couldn't watch WWF programming back in 96. Probably all the way to like 98. I couldn't watch that shit back in those days. I was stuck watching 8 simple fucking networks. It was either you're watching CBS, you're watching NBC, you're watching WB, CW, you're watching ABC, you're watching KCAL or whatever the hell you independent. You're watching Fox, or you're watching KCOP, or you're watching My Network. It used to be UPN back in the old days, so I used to watch that shit. Universal Paramount Network. That used to be one of the main networks that was going on. And it looks like shit now that it's called My Network 13. Now there's suddenly they're in association with Fox. Boy, has time fucking changed. But anyway, um, I was intrigued by watching these programs and watching cable. When I had to go to my grandma's house, I wanted to go see my grandma and my aunt, but at the same time, I wanted to go into the entertainment room because I wanted to watch the cable TV. And back in those days, I always wanted to watch Nickelodeon or ESPN. I wanted to see what the fuck was going on. So, I had a whole bunch of extra shit that was going on. And then I told my parents one time, hey, how come we don't have cable? We need to get cable.
Oh, it costs a lot of money. I ain't gonna get that. It's not too much money.
That was the answer that I got when I was a kid. And I just said to myself, well, these fucking people ain't gonna fucking work hard for their fucking to make a better living, so what the fuck can I do? I just grew up with whatever I had. Yeah, basically, pretty much. When I didn't watch another wrestling show till probably about '98. There was a program called WWF Metal, and then because for a little while there was this wrestling called WCW, and then I started seeing Mean Gene Okerlund, and I said to myself, what the fuck? This is all the old WWF guys. Why is WC... I'm like, what happened to WWF? What, doesn't exist anymore? What the fuck? So, I didn't know what the hell was going on, to tell you the truth. WWF became the lower tier wrestling program because not a lot of people, I guess, carried it, but that surprised the fuck out of me. Well, anyway, I did not watch another WWF program until around mid to late 1998. And then all of a sudden, I see Stone Cold Steve Austin. Then I see The Rock. Then I see Owen Hart. Then I see Ken Shamrock. Then I see The Undertaker. And I said, what happened to Bret Hart? What happened to him? But then I was not aware of the Montreal Screwjob back in '97, so I didn't know what the hell happened at that. Because everyone says about that Survivor Series back then. But yeah, I wasn't aware of that, so I kind of lost a little bit of track. And I was kind of watching it on and off and on, and then back in '99, I heard about Owen Hart. He died in a fucking tragic ceiling accident, and which is a big story, has been talked about even to this day. And I don't know, hopefully one day we'll talk about that shit. And in one of my future episodes, I'll be able to talk about that Owen Hart's death, and we'll talk about that situation some other time. But in the meantime, so I started watching wrestling, and then SmackDown was on UPN, and it gave me a very good reason to watch wrestling again. So I was excited. I was happy. Ever since then, I've been watching SmackDown, although I've got to admit, it hasn't been in good shape the last couple of years. And to me, wrestling was really good back in '98, '99, 2000, all the way to probably 2004. And then the storylines got stupid, and then Stone Cold left, and then The Rock left, and then here comes John Cena. Then we had Brock Lesnar. Then we had Goldberg. I mean, that was cool. They were cool. They had ability and shit. They had Kane, RVD, Rob Van Dam, a lot of good talent that was wrestling in that roster back in those days. And we saw some future Hall of Famers getting there. Well, we still had the Dudley Boys and shit, the Hardy. Well, they had Matt Hardy. But anyway, I was intrigued by the shit that they had back in those days, and I've had a lot of fun watching it. But then, like in 2004, right around when Brock Lesnar and Goldberg was about to leave, suddenly Eddie Guerrero and John Cena became the main guys. And on Raw, it was all about Triple H and Shawn Michaels and Kane, Rob Van Dam, Chris Benoit. Well, before we found out he was a fucking murderer. But anyway, I was entertained by it in a way, but at the same time, I was not too amused because I think the storylines got fucking stupid. And I was still watching it. I kept optimism. I'm watching matches from Rey Mysterio and John Cena and all that. And I kind of noticed like the cruiserweight matches back in '05 and '06, the wrestling got a lot more physical and they got a lot more intense. Like as far as wrestling ability. So I kept watching. Like I think, in my opinion, the wrestling's downturn went in about 2007, and that's when I think and this was past regarding the Chris Benoit murder-suicide situation. That's another subject I would like to bring out, but not right now. I mean, we'll talk about that some other time, maybe in a future episode of the podcast or something. But yeah, I mean, right around 2007, 2008, I started to notice the pace of wrestling really started to slow down. And this was even right after the wellness and the policies started to change. And once 2009 hit, oh my God, I couldn't watch that shit. I started watching TNA. Don't get me wrong, TNA was a good promotion, but until Vince Russo was working undercover with Dixie Carter, they fucked that fucking organization up. And, some people say, I don't want to watch TNA. And it's like, well, I watch Impact Wrestling. And some people are like, why the fuck would you watch that bullshit? And I'm like, come on, because I'm not a mark. I like to watch everything. I mean, Impact kind of sucks, but I mean, well, here I am criticizing a promotion. I shouldn't be criticizing promotion, but I mean, some people say, oh, Impact sucks, but I'm like, no, you just gotta explore your options. There's other shit that's going on besides WWE. And look where we're at right now. There's AEW, there's MLW, there's Ring of Honor, and there's Impact Wrestling. All the other independent promotions. You got Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. You got GCW out there. You got PCW Ultra that's based off of Wilmington, California, nearby the Long Beach, San Pedro area. If anybody lives out there in SoCal, or if anybody wants to check out independent shows all across the country, I recommend checking their company out. I recommend PCW Ultra tickets. They're low priced, and you could get them online all the time. And I really recommend, because their shows are just flat awesome. I mean, I recommend some of the best out there in independent pro wrestling. But anyway, that's just a brief story of what I like. I like watching professional wrestling. That's just the type of guy that I am. It's something going on. That I just get a kick out of it. But don't ever call it fake. That's a fucking word I can't stand. Fake. It probably could be. You could call it simulated fighting or whatever. Or predetermined results, but I mean, don't call it fake. It's anything but. I've seen guys get fucked up. I've seen guys get kicked in the head. I've seen guys sustain concussions. I've seen wrestlers get broken noses, black eyes, you name it. Probably a busted testicle, but I don't know. But you know what? These guys are risk takers. They're athletes. That's the thing. That's what calling it fake is, a fucking insult to the profession. Don't ever call it fucking fake. Because if you call it fake, you're a fucking mark. All right. Now, I don't have any sponsors for this podcast. Like I said, this is the very first episode of the Wrestling Enthusiast Real Talk. And I don't have any sponsors yet, so I'm not sponsored by anybody. So I thought I'd just make one up. You like going to Golden Corral? Yeah, Golden Corral is a delicious buffet, and they have delicious food items. They open at 10 a.m. Depending on where you live. Golden Corral has a lot of delicious options. They got pot roast and fried fish, and some delicious pulled pork, and also some fried chicken. And they got many. They got pizza, something for everyone. Pizzas, burgers, pastas, you name it, spaghetti. I like something I like to get from there. I like to get the fried fish with the little hush puppies. I like to get that, and I also like carved ham and also carved roast beef. Sometimes they fire up steak on the grill. And right now they have this special thing going on where in the Endless Buffet, this Golden Corral is America's #1 buffet. They have the special where they have the endless sirloin and seafood for a limited time only, daily after 4 p.m. locally, where you're at Sunday after 11 a.m. For more details, go check on thegoldencorral.com/promotions for more details. Golden Corral, the only one for everyone. All right, now we got a sponsor out of the way, and now I'm going to talk about something that's probably going to piss off a whole lot of motherfuckers out there. Now, because this is the main event portion of the show, so there's going to be some screaming, there's going to be some yelling, there's going to be some profane language. If you don't like that shit, turn the fucking thing off. All right, that's enough. So, the subject of the matter is the coronavirus. This subject of situation happened back in December 30th, I believe. It happened in China, around the Wuhan fish district. Some fish market that's over there. I don't know what the fuck, but over in China, some dirty, stinky, steamy fucking asshole. I'm not going to say his ethnicity because that has nothing to do with it. Ethnicity has nothing to do with this issue, because I know there's a lot of, ever since this fucking pandemic has been going around, this outbreak, there's been a lot of xenophobic and a lot of racism going around in the country. This is not what this rant is. This is not what this is about. This is not what this is. This is not. If you think that the Asians are to blame, I think there's something wrong with you. Because personally, I don't think it's their fault. It's not even their fault. Who I blame is the fucking governments. That's who I fucking blame. They didn't take enough precautionary measures. The government of China just let this shit spread, and it overwhelmed the population of China, at least in the Wuhan district. Because when this shit started, it started in a fucking fish market. And some dirty, rotten, piss-stained, poor, dirty motherfucker that was probably did a whole bunch of dirty shit. He probably stuck his dick in a dirty mud bucket or some shit. I don't know what the fuck. He probably got bit in the ass by a goddamn raccoon and decided to rub his dick with some fucking poison ivy. Who knows what the fuck happened? I don't know what happened. I'm just speaking in generalities. I'm not saying the truth. I don't know what actually happened. These are not actual details. But I know that it started in a fish market somewhere down in the Wuhan province. Somewhere down there. And I guess it was a fucking crowded day or some shit. There was a lot of people at the fish market. And apparently some idiot decided to fucking cough. I wish that motherfucker was... I don't know if that motherfucker's alive or not. But he had to be fucking put on a fucking pedestal and sliced down and fucking castrated with a goddamn fishing knife. A rusty one, too. Make it hurt a little more. But anyway, this prick, I guess, sneezed on some of the merchandise and spread his dirty fucking disease all around the items and produce there. And when people were getting in contact with some of the produce there, somebody got sick. And then before you know it, 2 people got sick. Then 4 people got sick. Then 8 people got sick. 20 people got sick. 60 people. 100 people. Now, the reason why I piss on the Chinese government is because the whole thing of this is that the Chinese government didn't do a good enough fucking job of containing the situation. Coronavirus, otherwise known as the COVID-19, well, to me sounds fucking ridiculous. I don't know why it's called COVID-19. It sounds like a fucking medication. But anyway, they're saying COVID-19 because apparently this shit has started Started in 2009. I'm like, why is it 19? It should be COVID 20. Well, okay, but no, that's not the reason why. I'm fucking pissed because they did a piss poor job at containing this fucking um, disease, this fucking virus. And sure enough, the whole province paid for it because the fucking cases started to multiply. We thought it was just some regular situation that was going on. Who knows what the fuck happened? And then all of a sudden the shit started spreading. Like around January 10th, January 15th, January 20th, there was roughly around, I don't know, say around 600 cases. That shit jumped within 2 weeks. And then before you know it, there was like 3,000 cases, 5,000 cases, 7,000 cases, and all of a sudden 9,000 cases. And then I don't have it, just letting you know. Anyway, but they just started fucking multiplying left and right all over the whole country of China. All the provinces, all the major provinces that already had the fucking disease, they already started spreading that shit all over the fucking place. And by the time it reached 15,000 fucking cases, the whole shit started to, everyone started to panic. I saw some fucking videos online, whether it was on YouTube or on CNN, that the hospitals in China couldn't handle all the cases. They couldn't handle all the patients. They couldn't handle all the attendees that were also getting sick as well. And the reason why they were overwhelmed so much is because the way they were treated at these Chinese hospitals, they weren't doing a good enough job to continue because everybody was in total fucking panic. And looking at the perspective, they weren't doing a good enough job containing the whole fucking thing. They just had regular gloves on, they had masks on. Like if masks fucking work, like if fucking the gloves are gonna be the only thing that's gonna protect you. Oh, I'm gonna protect my hands, but I'm not gonna protect my body. What kind of stupid fucking thought process is that? But I'll tell you why they think that way. It's not because it's ethnicity. It has nothing to do with culture. It's their fucking government. Their government funds their hospitals and their fucking crisis units. They're the ones that are fucking being funded by the government. And the government doesn't give them shit. It's a communist government in China. The president of China, Xi Jinping, said he's going to do whatever they can to quarantine as many cases as possible. And before you know it, when tourism started hanging around, there were some tourists that were going to Beijing and to fucking Shanghai or whatever destinations they were heading to see the Great Wall of China, or I'm pretty sure they're trying to eat any exotic foods from there. These motherfuckers have decided to let them go early, and they decided to let them spread that shit all over the public. And before you know it, 20,000 cases were all of a sudden being prospect. And the tourists were fucking traveling all over the fucking world. From the United States to Canada, Italy, Iran. There was Iranians over there. People from Japan. There was people that were taking a fucking cross-country cruise ship. The Princess Diamond. They all came from Japan. Because some people had the coronavirus in Japan. Now here's the deal with Japan. The Japanese government did a much better job at containing the situation. But unfortunately, it was a little too late because the crown princess, or that cruise ship that was the Princess Diamond, that apparently had a couple of people that were apparently sick, and they were from China. Another thing too, people that were visiting from the Wuhan province, and they came back to California, they brought that shit to the United States, all because of neglect. Because of fucking neglect by the Chinese government, they weren't keeping track of this shit. I mean, right now, they're now keeping track of it. They're now having most of the country in quarantine. They're shut down. They might resume after next week because their numbers have decreased slightly. And they have made much more recoveries, but that's not the problem here. The problem is, this fucking virus made land to the United States. because there's people out there that went to visit family from the Wuhan district, and they have came to America and they were being fucking careless. Now, it's not really their fault because they probably didn't know they even had it. But here's the deal. The problem was that this shit started to spread in California. And people that were touring all over from the cruise ships and all, they all went to different parts of the Asian continent. They went to China, Mongolia. They went to Japan, South Korea. And right now, South Korea, they had 16, 17 cases when back in the early parts of fucking February. Then all of a sudden that shit started to spike. The South Korean government didn't know what to fucking do. It started getting out of hand. And once they noticed they started getting out of hand, the fucking virus stopped spreading. It's not spreading as much as it used to because they started testing people. And now apparently they have a lot of people quarantined. This had the making of a global epidemic. And sure enough, lots of more countries started getting cases left and right. Most notably in Iran. In Iran, they had about 20 cases. Then suddenly it jumped up to 50. Then it jumped up to 120. Then 200. Then 500. Then 1,000. Then 2,000. Currently, their numbers are at 7,591. What the fuck are they doing over there? I mean, are they gonna fucking not quarantine these people? Are they fucking mad? No, let's just burn a fucking mosque. What kind of fucking leadership is that? Are they fucking insane? Probably. But they're panicking. That's the main point. The governments over there don't give a shit either. I like to point out the leader of whoever the fuck Al-Mendi, whoever the fuck this fucking idiot with a long beard, probably fucking smells like a fucking old goat. Fuck this motherfucker. We almost got to war with this prick 2 months ago. And now this motherfucker ain't even taking care of his own fucking people. And then, just to make the situation even worse, the shit started spreading to Europe. It started spreading towards Italy, then to Germany, then to Denmark, then to France, which currently Germany now has 2,659 cases. By this time, the global epidemic has now reached 70,000 people. And here's the problem. I started shitting on the fucking Italian government because a lot of these people from there was at least, because the shit started in Italy and then it suddenly had 15 cases. These jock-sniffing pricks that try to act like they're from the fucking Jersey Shore, they figured, oh, well, you know something, let's go on fucking vacation. I don't give a damn. Let's go to Italy. Let's go to Italy. I want to see Milan. I want to see the Tower of Pisa. I want to go see the Roman Empire. Let's go to Rome. I don't give a shit. Let's go over there because I'm young, dumb, and full of cum. Yeah, you need to be neutered, motherfucker. Anyway, so because of this nonsensical, delusional thinking, the cases spiked. Went from 25 people to 250 in one day. Then all of a sudden it went down and went up to 700 people in one day. And it just got worse. The situation just got worse. It went from 750 people to 1,700 in one day. What the fuck are they doing over there in Italy? I started pointing the goddamn finger at the fucking presidents of 3 of these countries. The fucking Iranian government, the Chinese government, and the Italian fucking government. Jesus, I thought they were our friends. No wonder it seems to me that that the Italians were trying to help out with Nazi Germany. There was a fucking reason for it, I think. Although some of the people that were sane and had reason and they had common sense, they all left because they wanted to get out of those occupied of Germany back in World War II. They didn't want to get involved with the enemy. And once I started seeing the cases spiked up in coronavirus, it went from 2,000 to 5,000 within a week. And I started to worry because I had some plans. I had some planning that I was going to do. And I bought tickets to a wrestling show. I was going to go see the PCW Ultra show called Future Now. It was supposed to be a goddamn wrestling event, an independent wrestling show that was supposed to take place on March 27th. March 27th has a specific meaning to me. You know why that day has a specific meaning to me? It's my birthday. That's why it's so significant. So anyway, the cases in Italy have spiked. And once I started seeing in sports forums and websites, international competitions, that the coronavirus started to become a major concern. And by this time, we already reached 80,000 cases. Now, granted, 65,000 of those cases were in China. So I fucking told the Chinese government and Xi Jinping, the Chinese president, go fuck himself with a fucking rusty goddamn dildo. I hope he fucking dies a horrible fucking death. I hope he gets anal cancer for all I care. But of course, dictators will never get any disease or any type because they think they're invincible. They're not. They're fucking assholes. Anyway, another fucking asshole. Sergio Mattarella, the Italian president. He was ignoring this bullshit that was going on. And then as soon as Italy started getting 8,500 cases for the whole entire country, they had to shut the country down. Everything was brought to a halt. And apparently some of these jock-sniffing pricks, these muscle assholes that thought they were going to have a good time. We were going to have a good time. They came back and brought the fucking coronavirus here again. Bunch of fucking morons. You stupid, dumb, Paulie D, Mike Sorrentino looking motherfuckers. Which I wish you fucking were struck by goddamn lightning. These fucking pricks are the reason why the epidemic has gotten worse, and now it's a goddamn pandemic. And ever since the World Health Organization has now declared that shit has spiked considerably, and now we're up to over 100,000 cases, over 4,000 deaths, and only 50-something thousand have recovered from this shit. The recoveries, luckily, have been outgaining the cases, but I think we're starting to hit a fucking spike. Spike in cases, for God's sake. Now, of course, once the situation here in America, depends on where you're listening from, the situation here in America has now gotten worse, and now it came in the triple digits, and our fucking President Donald Trump, Donald J. piece of shit, the J stands for jackass, Donald J. fucking Trump, the leader of the free world, the stupidest looking president we probably have ever had, looked like a fucking zipper in a goddamn leather bag. His skin probably looks like a fucking Gucci bag that's been sodomized by fucking sand dust. Is just fucking not doing a fucking thing and basically lying to the public. We have taken care and done precautionary measures to battle the coronavirus. I have placed someone that is personally in charge to take care of the coronavirus situation. Yeah, fucking Mike Pence. Think that fucking degenerate looking twit is gonna fucking do anything? You piece of shit. Oh, I think we're gonna find a way to cure this horrible disease. Oh yeah, what's that? Let us pray. Prayer could only take you so fucking far, my friend. It's actually doing something about it that actually diffuses the situation. But, of course, I have to talk shit about this dumb, stupid, fart bag motherfucker. Son of a bitch. If you're listening to this shit, I hope you fucking die a miserable death, motherfucker. If you ever bump into this shit, you stumble across it, yeah, I wish death upon you. And some people are like, wow, E. Peralta, you're certainly going way too strong on this one. Fuck you too. If you defend the enemy, you are the enemy. If you have at least if you are going to defend an enemy, give me a valid reason. Give me a valid reason to defend. I should defend any of these crooked, disgusting, arrogant, elitist motherfuckers. For me to be fucking defending these pieces of shit's fucking way of living while everybody else fucking suffers and bury their faces in fucking dirt. Explain me that. Now, of course, Sanders and fucking Biden, which probably Joe Biden's going to probably win the nomination because they're going to try to fuck over Sanders from their own fucking party. That just goes to show you that honest politicians don't exist. And the ones that are trying to be honest, they're going to get fucked somehow because screwing someone over nomination is better than a goddamn assassination. Because they've learned that from history. The history of American bullshit. But anyway, they're going to try to find any way to fucking bullshit the American people and say everything is going to be just fine. And now, look where we're at. We're at 125,000 cases. The cases have spiked considerably in Italy. Italy has 15,000 plus cases. China has 81,000. I'm going to see how much cases we actually have. We actually have 1,600 cases of coronavirus, COVID-19, and apparently the situation has gotten worse. No vaccine. There's no vaccine that's available right now at the moment because apparently the CDC hasn't tested yet and hasn't funded the program. Oh, there's a cure and there's a vaccine, but of course there hasn't been enough appropriate testing to be going on for a fucking cure. So we don't have enough money to fucking cure. This ain't about fucking money. This is about fucking people going on about their lives. 4,000 plus deaths in this world. Only about 67,000 people have recovered from this shit. Not to mention the fact that the whole situation of the cases multiplying, not just in America, but in fucking Italy. Now the country has shut down. Certain parts of the world have shut down. China shut down from the beginning of this shit. But now we're shutting down. The NBA just announced that they have suspended their season. And in the wrestling world, a lot of indie shows have announced the suspension and postponement. Some indie shows across the country have either canceled or postponed their events. Ring of Honor was supposed to have an event this weekend, and they canceled it. WWE SmackDown has been moved to the Performance Center so they can have not only 200 people because it's in a crowd environment that has less than 250 people. Oh, but guess what? It's going to be an empty arena, an empty venue. What the fuck are we doing in this country? Now I see an article, and I'm looking at this just right now, that I'm looking at this article right now, and it's saying that Trump that tested 11,000 Americans for the coronavirus. This whole time since this pandemic has started. Yeah, South Korea has stabilized their situation by announcing that they have tested 10,000 people a day. The Asian folks are doing better than us. And I'm not talking about racial shit. I'm talking about statistician-wise and stats and living proof that America's being stupid. It's fucking stupid. Now, there's a show that I wanted to go that has been postponed until June 12th. I told you about the PCW Ultra show that was supposed to happen. It's not happening on March 27th. It's happening June 12th. Why? Because of this fucking corona outbreak. California Governor Gavin Newsom has just announced that all gatherings, including sports, music, and culture-wise, have been barred with anybody that holds 250 or more people. This is some serious bullshit. And the reason why this shit's happening is because the fucking president that we have is neglecting to take care of this fucking situation. He's just reading from a fucking transcript. Everything is gonna be okay. No, it's not. The incompetence that comes out of your fucking mouth, out of your fucking dick liquor, is the reason why this whole fucking country's in the shit shape it's in. You don't want to piss out the fucking economy, but at the same time, we're heading in a fucking recession because of your fucking incompetence. And you're a goddamn liar. You, Mike Pence, and that fucking fuckknuckle Mitch McConnell from Kentucky, which I wish he was fucking got his head chopped off by a goddamn vulture. Just fucking clawed off and fucking ripped from the head down to the neck and just twisted and jolted and fucking ripped off. So we can see that poisonous blood dripping out of his fucking neck hole, and it'll be fucking probably be just as contagious as a goddamn coronavirus. Somebody burn that man's corpse. Fuck those fucking idiots. And that is why I'm upset. I'm upset because the entertainment venues, my planning for the next few months, basically have been brought to a halt because of this fucking incompetence that we have. Fuck, the more I think about this bullshit. It's just really ridiculous. As a matter of fact, and you know what, and there might be some people that are probably listening to this right now, and they're probably thinking, oh well, this guy, he doesn't respect president. He doesn't respect... Fuck you, you fucking piece of shit. It's not about respecting an authority figure because he is what he is. No, it's not about status. It's about how you do your job and how well you're going to be received from it. Are you going to get praised or are you going to get fucking shit on? Make your decision. And the whole thing, this whole thing is fucking blown out of proportion. As a matter of fact, if Donald Trump was right here standing around in front of my face right now, I would tell him, fuck you, you fucking prick. I will cut your goddamn balls off if I had the opportunity. But the reason why I don't is because I know what's better for everyone in my family. I know what's better. And I definitely will not take anybody at personal risk just because I'm not going to risk myself. But you know what? Especially with shit like this, it gives me a goddamn anger aneurysm. You know what I call an anger aneurysm? It's when I get fucking pissed off and I don't know what the fuck I'm saying half the time because I'm fucking pissed off. So fuck these fucking politicians. So fuck you, Italian President Roggello, whatever the fuck your fucking name is. Fuck you, Xi Jinping. And fuck you, Donald Trump. Oh, and that Moscow Mitch bitch, fuck you too, you piece of shit. Mike Pence, you're so clean that I gotta wipe you with my ass. Well, that's my personal opinion about that shit. And like I said, hopefully you guys enjoyed that shit. So maybe next time when I come up in the next episode, well, we'll talk about something else. We'll talk about some wrestling reviews, and maybe talk about something better other than this stupid fucking coronavirus bullshit. So, I think, I hope you, because I finally got this shit off my chest, and I'm finally glad I'm doing it. I feel like a bit of sigh of relief now that I've done this shit. So, hopefully, if you have any frustrations and you agree with me, then hey, we all have something in common. If you don't agree with me, you go fuck right off. Grab a stick and shove it up your ass. Anyway, so I think that's about time to wrap up this episode here of Real Talk. I hope you guys have had as much fun as me talking about this bullshit. So, until next time, this is E. Peralta saying, have yourself a good day. Until next time, peace out.